Clear prop. Good morning. Wow, another beautiful Saturday morning in the Rogue Valley. It's Saturday, the day before Easter. I'm by myself today. Chelsea is up checking out the tulips up in the Willamette Valley, which is also beautiful. She's there with her mom this weekend, and while they were there, I decided to sneak out and visit my kids in Provo again and spend Easter weekend with them. So I'm going to cruise out there, 17,500 feet this morning. It should be about a 3-hour flight, not much of a tailwind, but some tailwind, and so I think it should be about 3 hours, and really looking forward to it. Maybe discuss some wills and trust issues on the way out there. Not trust issues, but trust and will issues. And kind of the pros and cons, the differences.
Got 717. Do you just want to hold on the route or taxi to the run-up? I'll leave it up to you.
But for now, I'm just going to get through my checklist and get up in the air. So thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe. Wow, so beautiful. We've got these kind of high cumulus clouds off to my left. Looks pretty clear to the, we're going to be going to the southeast, so nice and clear in the direction we're going to be going. So let's get going. Good morning, Medford ground. Experimental Sling 3755 Golf is at the north hangars with information Tango, looking for a departure to the east.
Sling 3755 Golf, Medford ground. Good morning, sir. Runway 32, taxi V Alpha.
32 V Alpha, 55 Golf. And it looks like we've got the commercial planes departing with us. I see a couple of them pushing away from the terminal right now, so that's always kind of fun, leaving with the big boys. Medford's kind of a small class Delta airport, and so we tend to get very early in the morning departures and arrivals with the regional carriers because most of our flights are connections through Seattle, San Francisco, some to Los Angeles and Portland. I mean, we do have direct flights to some of the other bigger cities in the western U.S., but it's mostly just those regional connections. So if those are connecting, if you're flying out of San Francisco or Seattle at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, then that's your connection. So we're leaving early in the morning, 6 o'clock, 6:30, 5:30 here out of Medford. So anyway, when I leave early in the morning like this, it's not uncommon for me to have these bigger commercial jets leaving with me. Here's an example of what I was just talking about. This is actually really unusual. There's a United jet here, and he's over in the run-up area, and I've never seen these commercial jets in the run-up area like this. I'm not even sure where to do my run-up, to be honest. He's taken up most of it, and the last thing I want to do is get caught in his jet blast. I guess I'm going to pull up kind of next to him. But I'm not going to get too deep into the run-up here. Okay, we finished our run-up, and we're ready to depart to Provo, 6:30. Lights, fuel pumps, fullest tank. They're all full. I've got my auxiliary tanks full too. Friendly wave from the friendly skies. Over to Medford Tower. Medford Tower, Sling 3755 Golf, holding short, Alpha 1.
Sling 3755 Golf, Medford Tower. Make a right turn out to the east, runway 32, cleared for takeoff, wind calm.
32, clear for takeoff, and right turn out approved, 55 Golf. All right. We are clear on final. Clear down the runway. Runway 32 has been verified. Nice morning. All right, get lined up and bring in full takeoff power. Full takeoff power is set. Airspeed's alive, engine gauges are green. And there's 55, let's rotate. Build up some speed. There's 90, climb out at 90. There's 500 feet, parachutes available, and he approved us for a right turnout.
Sling 55 Golf, appreciate approved, see you on the way back.
Over to Cascade, and see you tomorrow, 55 Golf.
Well, enjoy your night then.
Do the same. Cascade approach, experimental Sling 3755 Golf is 5 to the east of Medford, 4.7, climbing 17,500. Looking to pick up flight following to Provo.
Tower 3755 Golf, Cascade approach, Medford altimeter 3012, 3-letter identifier for Provo, please.
3012, and Provo is Papa Victor Uniform, 55 Golf.
For 55 Golf, squawk 1576.
1576, 55 Golf.
Sparrow 55 Golf, your radar contact 8 miles east of Medford.
Position checks, 55 Golf. Okay, so here we are at 17,500 feet. true airspeed is
2017, contact Oakland Center 134.907. Have a good day.
150 knots. I'm having some GoPro problems. My front camera fell off the windscreen. It had a suction cup. I'm not sure if it was because it got cold, because the suction cup's been up there for a while. The thing hasn't fallen off in forever, and then once I start doing some recording again, it falls. So I kind of have it jury rigged up in my front pocket up there. We'll hope that it holds at least through this part of the video. So we're cruising at about 150 knots, true airspeed. We've actually got a pretty good tailwind, 30 knot tailwind. So over the ground, we're almost 180 knots. That makes our trip to Provo much quicker. It's 7 o'clock now, and it looks like we'll be there in just a little over 2 hours. Chilly up here, 10 degrees. So I got the heat cranked up. It's been a beautiful flight so far. So let's talk about wills and trusts. So I've kind of been putting off this conversation because honestly, it's so specific from one situation to the next. You know, I've talked about powers of attorney and advance directives, and basically I've said, you know, everybody to varying degrees can benefit from having a power of attorney, from having an advance directive to take care of medical, financial, legal matters and stuff like that in the event of incapacity. Wills and trusts are different because of the circumstances. A lot of times it can be the state that you live in. It can, some states are way more friendly towards wills, and some states are more requiring trusts. Usually it comes down to the amount of cost and oversight that is necessary for your situation. So I'll say kind of at the outset, wills as a general rule are going to be more simple and less expensive to start, but there's going to be a probate process after the death of the last spouse to die, or if you're not married, after your death.
That was 420 Whiskey, CL Center, radar contact, mile south of the Arcade Airport.
The one misunderstanding is that wills can do away with probate. They don't. If you die without a will, that's typically considered intestate or an intestacy estate, which is an estate that's going to be administered according to the default provisions of that state's probate laws. So, you know, for a married couple, if they die, typically it's going to go to their spouse. Unless they're stepchildren, then it gets complicated. And if there is no spouse, then it goes on to the children, grandchildren, and so on. But again, there's lots of complications and things that need to be considered, especially with blended families, if there's stepchildren involved, because intestate succession may not be exactly how you want it. Furthermore, if you've got a disabled child or beneficiary of your estate, intestacies probably not going to be ideal because it may not meet their special needs or their specific needs that should be addressed. So those are things that you definitely want to talk to your own attorney about. And that reminds me, that's my disclaimer. This isn't legal advice. I'm just going to give some general legal principles, some things for you to consider and talk about with your own attorney. So the first thing that we'll probably want to talk about is what are probate assets generally. A probate asset is going to be an asset that you own at the time of your death that is not designated to go to somebody else, either in some form of survivorship, like joint tenancy with right of survivorship, or payable on death, or transferable on death to another person. So if you own something, say a car, or a bank account, or a house, and you own it by yourself, nobody else is on the title or on the deed.
That was 420 Whiskey, cleared left turn direct fast.
Then upon your death, depending on the value of the asset, it's most likely going to have to go through probate. And the probate is a process wherein somebody has to apply to the court to become your personal representative or your executor to be able to administer your estate. And they take on some responsibilities to deal with filing tax returns, paying any creditors' claims or satisfying creditors' claims, and then administering the estate and distributing to beneficiaries, either intestate or the beneficiaries you've designated in your will. So that's typically what requires probate, because if you think about it, if you own a house and you die, the title company is not going to insure title on somebody transferring that house without some assurances that there's court oversight to make sure that creditors are being satisfied, that the IRS is being satisfied before those beneficiaries receive their share, and then furthermore that the beneficiaries receive the share that you want them to receive. So that's typically what a will is going to deal with. It's going to designate who do I want to receive my estate and who do I want to administer my estate. You know, you might have 3 or 4 or 5 kids, 2 kids, but you know who the one that you wish to be the executor or the administrator of your estate is, because you feel like that person might be the most capable, or even the most available, or maybe even just the person who lives closest to you. So those are the things to consider when contemplating who's going to be the executor or the personal representative of your will. Now, some people might say, well, maybe I don't need a will because I don't have much and I've just got a young family. Well, you still might have life insurance. And if you've got a young family, you and your spouse should designate who you want to be the guardians of your children, if they're minor children. Furthermore, how do you want the funds to be managed? The default is that the kids could end up getting the money when they turn 18 or 21, and that might not be ideal. I think in most situations it's not ideal. So you can set up a will or a trust that allows somebody to be the trustee for your kids and to manage the funds, to help them with starting a career or getting through college, and help them kind of make good decisions until they attain an age that you're more comfortable with, say 25 or 30, or graduating from college. Something like that, some triggering event that allows them to then distribute the funds to the kids. Like I said, if you've got a disabled child in your family, then there's a whole host of considerations. You might talk about ABLE accounts, whether or not they're eligible for that. Supplemental needs or special needs trusts, whether or not that's appropriate, whether or not it's appropriate to have one of their siblings managing their funds. Is that a good idea for the disabled child? Is it a good idea for the child who might be the trustee of the funds? Because that can put a whole lot of pressure on them and make it a very uncomfortable dynamic for them with their siblings. So there's a lot to consider with who you want to appoint. So that brings up the question of, well, do I just...
991 Golf Tango, Seattle Center, good morning, Arcade altimeter 3012.
Do I just go online and get a will online? Obviously, I'm an attorney. I don't recommend that. I've spent a lot of extra time and money fixing do-it-yourself wills because people thought that they had a simple situation, or the will wasn't executed properly, or there were just some mistakes that, seemingly could have been easy to avoid, but because that's not what you do, I just think it makes sense. For me, if I want somebody to work on my airplane, I want somebody who's qualified to do it. If I want somebody to drill a cavity out of one of my teeth, I'm going to go to a dentist, not a friend, not the internet. And so I feel the same way about having legal work done. I just think it makes sense to have somebody who's qualified and capable to do that for you. So that's setting up the wills. Now, the downside, or what people frequently look at as the downside of the wills, is when you die, the personal representative has to apply to be appointed as your executor.
Contact Oakland Center 119.97.
Or your personal representative. And that happens through the court. So a lot of people say, well, I've got the will, and the will appoints me as personal representative. That's not necessarily true. The will nominates you as personal representative. You've got to qualify. You've got to show the court that you're qualified. You've got to go to court. You get letters testamentary, and that's what gives you the ability to actually administer the estate. That's what gives you the authority to access bank accounts, to file tax returns, to cancel credit cards, to deal with that type of stuff. So that's the court process. That's typically going to require an attorney, and it's going to cost money. It is going to be costly. It's going to be costly because it's going to require an attorney. Here's something I would propose to you might be a positive of probate. Say your kids don't get along very well, or that you've got concerns that one of your children or maybe one of their spouses is going to cause problems to your executor. Yeah, you can put in a no contest clause or something like that. That has some value. Interim clauses are typically honored in most states and most courts, but that may not solve all of your problems. The nice thing about the probate is it's going to allow your executor to have an attorney to walk him or her through the whole process, so that they've got somebody guiding them and telling them how to do it and what to do, so that they don't make mistakes and then find out later that they made mistakes. Even well-meaning, intended executors make mistakes that sometimes have some severe financial consequences to them. So I think there's some value to that, especially if you've got a larger family, or like I said, you've got a child or a spouse of a child who just is inclined to maybe be a little bit greedy and maybe cause problems to your executor. I don't think it's worth it to leave them out hanging, because a trust, even though you can have a lawyer helping the trustee, that takes away some of the value, because once the lawyer's involved, it's going to cost more money. And that's one of the reasons people set up trusts, is to avoid that additional cost in the administration of the trust after death. So that's the probate process. It's going to take some time. In Oregon, usually I'm looking at 6 to 9 months, depending on the complexity of the estate, whether or not there are going to be estate taxes due, whether or not there's real property that needs to be sold, whether or not it's got something that's kind of unique about the estate. Sometimes they can take longer, typically not longer than a year. Trust administrations sometimes can be quicker than that, but not frequently. Usually they're about the same time.
Maintain 1-2000.
I encourage most clients with an average estate to consider that the estate's probably going to take 6 to 9 months to finish administering, if the administrator, the personal representative, or the trustee is diligent about that. So that's wills. Let's talk a little bit about trusts. I'm going to restart my cameras. So with trusts, I think one situation where you should definitely consider setting up a trust is if you own real estate in multiple jurisdictions. So we live in Southern Oregon. It's not uncommon for people to own real estate in Oregon as well as California or Arizona. They might be snowbirds. If you own real estate in different states and you only have a will, there's going to be a high likelihood that you're going to have to probate your estate, or that your executor will have to probate your estate in both Oregon and in Arizona. So that ancillary probate is going to multiply the cost of administering the estate, and it can be considerably more expensive depending on the other states that you're going to be doing it. So that's something where I think a trust just makes a ton of sense, is go ahead and set up the trust, get the real estate transferred into the trust in both states. There's going to be some additional costs. You might have to hire attorneys in both of your jurisdictions, but you've already got property in both states, so you've got those extra costs. So setting up a trust. When you establish a revocable living trust, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to first set up the trust agreement. There is complexity to it because there's a lot of documents that go along with it. A certificate of trust, usually some form of assignment of assets. You still do a will. It's called a pour-over will that makes sure that all the assets go into the trust in case you miss something at the time of your death. And then there's still powers of attorney, advance directives, some of those other documents that we've already talked about. Once you've established the trust, that's fine, but then you've got to fund the trust. So when you establish a trust, you're the grantor.
Tango, Roger, descend at Palm's discretion, maintain 9,000.
Or the trustor of the trust, which is the person who sets it up. You're also typically the trustee of the trust. That's the person who's in charge of administering the trust. And then while you're alive, you're going to be the beneficiary of the trust. That's what makes it a revocable living trust, because you have the right to revoke or modify or change it at any time during your life, as long as you're competent. You've got a successor trustee. That would be like the executor of the will. That's the person who's going to take over should you become incapacitated or upon your death, who's going to administer that trust for you. Now, once you set up the trust, you got to transfer your house into the trust, your bank accounts, your brokerage accounts, your mutual funds, your stocks. I don't get really worked up over cars.
One Golf Tango, I know you're pretty familiar with the airport area there. Are you okay with this angle at full due for a straight in there? Do you want a little vector to the north to join Victor 27?
Cars are usually pretty easy to handle.
One Golf Tango, Roger. You can expect 5,000 here in a couple minutes, and then 3,500 for the cross restriction.
Through the Department of Motor Vehicles. So if you want to put the cars in trust, that's fine. To me, that's just an added cost. Plus, people are always buying and selling cars, and so I don't get worked up over cars. But for the rest of the stuff, you usually do want to do it. Now, there's some assets you don't put in trust typically. Retirement accounts don't go in trust. Life insurance usually won't go into the trust. Annuities don't go into the trust. Typically, those have beneficiary designations, and they don't need to go into the trust, but you want to take into account who your beneficiaries are and either make them consistent with the trust, or if they're inconsistent with the beneficiary or with the designations of the trust distribution, you want to take into account why that inconsistency. Maybe you've got a blended family, and you've got somebody else that you want to receive a little extra because maybe it's a much older child or a child, with some special needs or something like that. So those are the trust issues. So the thing about the trust is this. It can make it simpler for the trustee to distribute the trust if simple is the goal. If simple is the goal and not incurring as much in attorney's fees and court fees, then administering the trust after your death is a worthy goal or a good instrument to use. But, as I said earlier, sometimes simple isn't the goal. Sometimes doing it exactly right is the goal. And I think in certain circumstances, in particular with complicated estates or complicated family dynamics, having that probate, having the attorney, a qualified attorney, assisting the executor along the way can be valuable, even if it does cost more. So you really have to figure out, what's my goal? Do I want to spend more money now, go through the potential hassle of funding the trust, making sure the trust stays funded? Got to switch fuel tanks here. Making sure that the trust stays funded throughout the rest of my life to save my kids some money for administering the estate after my death. That works great as long as the kids are, of like mind, get along really well, or you don't have enough kids to fight or something like that, or you just got one surviving child. That's a pretty simple situation. And I think those are ideal situations for a trust. And like I said, if you've got real estate in multiple jurisdictions, I think trusts are a good idea there. So I guess the big takeaway for me is talk to your lawyer, and if your lawyer just says, yep, let's do a trust for you, or yep, let's just do a will for you, slow them down and say, listen, why don't you talk to me about the pros and cons of these? Let's make it work for my situation. I think that's important. That's another reason why I think there's value to going and seeing a lawyer like this rather than just getting a form off the internet and doing it yourself. Because the value with the attorney, in my opinion, is the counseling. They should be able to talk to you about your family situation, your disabled child, your children, whether or not they've got special needs, whether or not, they get along, and what's the best course of action for you. And this is something that's going to change over time. So that's the best I can do on trust. I hope it's satisfying for you. I know it was long. If you hung in there through the whole thing, congratulations. Probably deserve a prize. But anyway, here we are out in the middle of the Oregon desert. We're flying through an MOA, 17,000 feet, cruising along at 150 knots and on our way to Provo. Looking forward to this beautiful Easter weekend. Thanks for joining me. Okay, we are 63 nautical miles out from Provo. We've started our vertical descent.
Number 27 Victor Pop, Salt Lake Center radio check.
Through 17,000 right now. We've got a really pretty heavy-duty crosswind right now coming in directly from my left, off my left wingtip. So if you look out of this camera, it looks like we're heading straight towards those mountains.
Canada 760 Salt Lake Center.
And indeed, the way we're descending, or our speed of descent, we would go straight into those mountains. But that's
November
because
27 Victor Papa Salt Lake.
That's because we're crabbed so much this way into our actual track. So our track is that way, our heading is this way, if that makes sense. Because again, we've got just so much of that crosswind coming through. So we're actually going to go through that kind of dip that's Johnson Pass.
Victor Papa with you 11,000.
That we're going to go through, but it looks like we're heading straight for these mountains. You can kind of see us contouring that way now. Anyway, it's interesting. It's all interesting to me. A little video here of the Great Salt Lake as we're coming in.
Say again, altimeter.
November 27 Victor Papa clears direct Zansu. That's Zulu, Oscar, November, Sierra, Uniform. Direct wind over. You can expect the RNAV, the 26 over Zansu.
Direct to Zansu, Skyline, 7 Victor Papa.
Salt Lake, CDM 512 Delta Mike, flight level 312.
512 Delta Mike, Salt Lake Center.
So, as I predicted, we didn't hit these mountains over here. We're still going towards these, but we're going to end up over here, over the Johnson Pass, and much lower altitude terrain that we don't need to avoid.
3012.
I mean,
Number 27 Victor Papa.
You always want to avoid terrain.
Over. I don't show any current.
I'm just saying our track is going to keep us so that we can avoid the terrain.
Number 55 Golf, contact Salt Lake approach 128.1.
128.1, 55 Golf. Center experimental Sling 3755 Golf, 13.6, descending into Provo. Yeah, 242.
Can you hear 55?
Yeah, I can hear him.
Could you do me a favor and just...
Getting a relay to me.
Will do. Sling 55 Golf,
change frequency 128.6 for approach.
Sling 55 Golf for 128.6, is that correct? Approach experimental Sling 3755 Golf, 12,900 descending into Provo.
3755 Golf, thanks. Approach gets loud and clear now. Solid altimeter 3015.
3015, thanks a lot. 55 Golf. And traffic around Provo is looking busy as per usual. I don't think I've ever flown in here where it's not a little busy, if not a lot busy. Alright, got my wigwags on, got my lights, both fuel pumps, fullest tank. We're ready to land. Now, we got to get our weather, then we'll be ready to land.
No 55 Golf, are you familiar with the Provo Airport?
Affirmative, am familiar. 55 Golf.
55 Golf, roger. November 55 Golf, radar service terminated, clock VFR, and frequency change approved. Actually, you know what? Stay with me for 1 minute. You got traffic 11 o'clock, 4 miles south on 7,200 indicated.
Okay, I'll stay with you and looking for that traffic. 55 Golf. Approach 55 Golf has that traffic in sight, no factor.
55 Golf, thanks. Radar service terminated, clock VFR, and frequency change approved. Have a good day.
VFR and over to tower, 55 Golf. Thanks for your help.
Provo Airport information, Kilo 1556 Zulu observation. Wind calm, visibility 10, sky clear, temperature 05, dew point -06, altimeter 3015. Visual approaches in use, landing runway 13. VFR departures advise ground control direction of flight. NOTAMs runway 13, runway and identifier lights out of service. Use caution for bird activity in the vicinity of the airport. Advise on initial contact you have information, Kilo. Provo Airport information, Kilo 1556.
Alright, we've got Kilo, we got bumps, and we got traffic, and we got runway 13.
Standing upwind.
Max 1847, the Seminole traffic's turning a mile final.
Copy and confirm he's doing a stop and go.
Max 1847, affirmative.
Yeah, I think we're going to eat him up. You want us to get vector back around?
Max 1847, Roger, no, spacing looks good. He won't be too long on the runway.
Copy, Max 1847.
Provo Tower, Sling 3755 Golf is midfield, right downwind 13.
Door on 55 Golf, extend downwind.
Extending downwind, 55 Golf.
46, Provo ground, runway 18, taxi off, Charlie, advise run complete. 755 Golf, base approved, traffic, caravan departing runway 18, runway 13, clear land.
Turning for that base and clear to land 13, 55 Golf. We'll be looking for that traffic.
34, following traffic, turning a 2 mile right base.
Follow traffic on base, 34.
34, report traffic in sight.
We will report when traffic's in sight, 34.
Provo Tower, Wolf 47, 5.5 miles to the southeast with Kilo looking for a full stop.
47, Provo Tower, hold outside the Class Delta airspace, I'll call you back, number 2.
You'll call me back, Wolf 47.
076, report the Diamond Star downwind head in sight.
Traffic in sight, 076.
076, number 3, runway 13, cleared stop and go.
Number 313, cleared stop and go, 076.
34, the traffic you're following is passing off to your left, right base to final.
Traffic in sight, Wolf 34.
Wolf 34, number 2, runway 13, clear to land.
Alright,
Number 2, 13, clear to land, Wolf 34.
Traffic in sight, taking off. And let's get shaped up here. All right, third notch verified. Wind check.
Wind 210 at 5. Caravan 2, Tango Echo, contact Salt Lake departure, good day.
Departure, good day, Tango Echo.
Correct, 663, make right traffic, runway 13, report midfield.
Right traffic for 13, report midfield, career track 663.
47, Provo Tower, make left traffic, runway 13, report midfield, enter about 6,000.
Left traffic, runway 13, report midfield, and enter about 6,000, 147.
Provo Tower, Wolf 34, want to make sure we're clear to land.
34, affirmative, number 2, runway 13, clear to land.
Number 2, clear land, 13, Wolf 34.
Cessna 83 Victor, frequency change approved.
Frequency change approved, thanks much.
Tower Wolf 76, this will be a last stop and go, there will be no time departure.
Wolf 76, roger, after touch and go, left down, departure approved.
Alright, after touch and go, left down, departure approved, Wolf 76.
Twin 55 Golf, safe parking.
Signature 55 Golf.
Twin 55 Golf, turn right on Alpha, taxi, signature via Alpha, cross runway 18 at Alpha, monitor ground.
Right on Alpha, 2 signature via Alpha, and we'll cross runway 18, 55 Golf. Alright, got marshaled in. Very nice. Welcome to Provo.
Sun 6, certify you're going to practice area, India.
One 8 is verified.
That's fun, we're going off 1-8.
Yep, it's awful fun. I've flown out on 1-8 a couple of times like this.
1-8 and 3-6.
Yep. Yep. All right, we're going to bring in full takeoff power. Full takeoff power is set and achieved. Engine gauges are green, airspeed's alive. There's 55. Ugh, that's what I'm talking about, density altitude right there. Feel that?
Yeah. Water looks smooth.
Yeah, it does.
You think right now you could get back down and land? No.
I'd turn that way.
Taxiway?
Yep. I could get down the taxiway.
Runway 13, clear touch and go, crew check 408.
He's on 13?
Yeah. Yeah, because 13 is their regular runway. He gave us 18 because we were doing a turnout to the west.
Sling 55 Golf, would you like flight following?
I would like flight following to Medford. Are you able to set me up with that? That's Mike Foxtrot Romeo.
Yeah, I'll have it in just a second.
Thank you very much, 55 Golf.
That's nice of him.
Yeah, it was great.
Who would you have called to request flight following from?
I was going to go over to approach right here.
And is that up in Seattle?
For the Sling.
Sierra Lima Golf 4 Slant Golf. No, that's Salt Lake.
Okay. The lake looks smooth.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Sling 55 Golf, squawk 6052.
6052, 55 Golf.
6052.
Tower, can I ask one more thing? Are you able to tell me if the restricted areas directly to the west are active above 10,000 feet?
Number 55 Golf, I do not have that info. That's approach will have it, and so will center. Contact approach 118.85.
118.85. Thanks for your help, 55 Golf.
You bet.
118.85.
Yep.
You already had that uploaded or no?
No, he gave me a different approach than I had on the way out here. Departure experimental Sling 3755 Golf, 6.3 climbing 16,500.
3755 Golf, solid departure, radar contact, and solid altimeter 29er, 55 Golf, traffic south, 3 miles northbound, 7,500, indicated temp unknown.
No contact. Look, we've got that traffic in sight. 55 Golf.
55 Golf.
You do see him?
Yeah.
Okay, you see a factor?
Skyhawk 1.
What was that? No, he's way out there.
South Fairfield VOR. I think you're talking about me. We're headed for U42.
He might be coming straight out of
I see him.
Visual approach, 35.
Yep, he's right on our wingtip out here.
Yeah, but we're a while ahead of him.
Oh yeah, we're good. Nice, good eyes. All right, so here we are. We actually had to descend a little bit. We were among the clouds. In fact, you can see. Hey, you get some video of that because no, actually I can.
Right in front of us, we got a big one.
Yeah. We had to descend a little bit because we're right at cloud level. And there was a bunch of rainstorms, thunderstorms ahead of us on the way directly to Medford. So we descended and we had to divert almost to Reno to stay out of that rain up ahead. So anyway, all right by me because I get to hang out with my buddy Tate just a little bit longer. I guess I should introduce Tate. I've talked about him quite a bit on my channel. But here he is, he's flying with me. Tate's my youngest, he's my son, my only son, 21 years old, attending school at Brigham Young University in Provo, just finished his winter term, well, finishing his winter term, and going to be starting his spring term like in a week, so he's just grinding on the schoolwork right now, which is great. Yeah, Tate, you want to introduce yourself? I mean, I guess I kind of already just did.
Just got introduced.
I should say, Tate's a pilot, too. He's not a current pilot, but he got his pilot's license same time I did.
Nobody can take that from me.
Oh, well, go ahead.
Guess the FAA could if I do something really bad.
Technically, the FAA can't exactly take that from you. I'm going to show you a little trick that I learned from my buddy Wayne.
75, contact Salt Lake Center 132.25. 132.25.
So we're experiencing a little bit of mountain wave right now. We're pitched up, and we're trying to stay at that 14.5 because the wind is coming over these mountains like this. So I'm going to change from holding at 14.5 to just pitch. So what that's doing is I'm maintaining the same pitch, but what Wayne said we can do, and it's a lot more comfortable, is you basically just kind of ride the wave. So we'll go up a little bit, and we'll come down a little bit,
nice.
but we'll
cool.
stay at that same pitch.
Yeah.
Now, you kind of got to watch your altitudes. Yeah, you're not fighting it. So, because otherwise, and this is why he explained it to me,
Yeah, we're already going up a little bit.
Yeah, see, we're climbing a little bit, but I think on that other side, we're actually, no, I think since we're getting to the peak of the mountains, it's going to push us up a little.
Yeah.
But what
Just
happens
not as long as we don't go into the clouds.
Yeah, we got to avoid the clouds because we're on VFR. Otherwise, what you do is you're pitched down and pitched up, just trying to fight to maintain that altitude. He's like, don't fight it, just stay comfortable and stay at that same pitch. So I took off my altitude hold, and we're just staying at pitch.
Cool.
So,
it's kind of like scuba diving.
Yeah, that's right. It's a lot like scuba diving, huh?
Just kind of.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, you got the same pitch, but as the currents are going by and stuff, you're kind of raising and lowering as your breath goes in and out. You're up and down a little bit.
That's just what my brain goes to.
Yeah, no, that happens. I went up and down a lot while I was scuba diving because I'm not an excellent scuba diver. Tate's a pretty good scuba diver. He's got
advanced certification.
Yes. Spent some time in Belize killing lionfish, and
that was a good time.
Spent a lot of time scuba diving at that point. So anyway, here we are, 14,500. We've got a 23 knot headwind. I think our trip, even with that diversion, our trip's probably going to be about 4 hours, 15 minutes, 4.5 hours or so. But anyway, wanted to check in, just kind of let you know what's going on. It's going to be dark when we land. All right, so we are still at 14,500, just under the clouds.
489, direct Merrick.
We had to go around quite a bit of convective activity, some moderate to severe precip. Salt Lake Center called us up, suggested that we divert. So we're headed towards Reno right now.
United 1863.
And I think we're getting out away from most of it. It's pretty dark over there to our right.
United 1863.
Yes.
Lightening up.
Yep, starting to lighten up, so we're kind of getting around the tip of it. Once we get around the tip of this, then, so we're probably not going to go all the way to Reno, but once we get around all this stuff, we'll just head back up to Medford. Probably about a 20-25 minute delay in toll. So, nothing too bad.
2181.
We're having fun. Tate's listening to, what are you listening to over there, Tate?
Right now I got some Zach Bryan rolling.
Zach Bryan.
Things have cooled off. What's our air temperature outside?
Outside air temp, OAT.
Right at 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Ground speed of 122 knots, nautical miles.
15, Solly.
Cool. Got the sweatshirt on our jolly way.
Yes, we're doing great. Making good time, having fun. And yeah, the sun just dipped behind those kind of dark clouds. But yeah, we're also getting right behind the tip of those dark clouds. So
I'll grab a picture of this. The rays are pretty cool.
For sure. That is beautiful, huh? Nice.
Boom.
So, yep. I think I don't think we're going to have to fly all the way into California to get around this stuff. In fact, I can see just a little bit of rain coming through over here, but we're going to get around these rain clouds and then
looks like we're pretty much there.
Northwest. Yep, I agree. Anyway,
chase the sun into the sunset.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. I mean, the clouds really, they just add kind of texture and everything to the sky, and it just makes
it does make the sky a whole lot more beautiful.
It does. It really does.